Hello, Soul family, and welcome to the Radiant Souls podcast. So, today I'm going to talk about a recent dental experience, tooth number 16, but how it's related to some of the healing and energy practices I did and trying to figure out the meaning of why we sometimes feel like we're getting stuck. Like every time we take a step forward, it feels like three steps back. So, stick with me on this story. So, at a recent routine dental appointment, they did identify that I had a cavity that was dangerously close to reaching a nerve. So, because it was a wisdom tooth, tooth number 16, it needed to be extracted and soon. Given that my dental insurance was about to run out the following week, I opted to get it done at the first available appointment, which was going to be February 25th, 225. This was the day before that Mercury was going to enter its first retrograde of 2026. So, first, let's talk about the date, 225. This is a date that lives in infamy in my family. It's one of those dates that some families have that, like, multiple deaths in the family have occurred on the same day, or it's also on someone's birthday. But it included my own dad's death date. So it kind of made me laugh. I know that sounds weird, but it made me laugh because one time, my dad, who never saw a doctor or a dentist routinely ever, had a horrible toothache and decided to pull this tooth on his own with literally like this tool from the junk drawer, just yanked it out one night. How did that go? Well, he pulled the wrong tooth. So he ended up going to a real dentist and getting it taken care of in a less medieval way. So, the Sunday before my extraction, I prepared my body using this medical procedure prep, is what I call it. This is the same service that I offer to other people who may be undergoing some sort of invasive procedure, like a surgery or an operation, dental procedure, or like radiation, chemotherapy, something that harm can be done to the body and the body needs to recover from it in some way. What we believe is that the body hangs on to trauma. The body's job is to stay alive. So any threat to the body, stabbing, surgeries are stabbings, right? Cutting open the body. Radiation is burning. Chemotherapy is poison. So anything that happens like that, the body is immediately perceiving this as a traumatic thing that is trying to kill it. So you can have all sorts of reactions of inflammation and bleeding and all these horrible things that can delay um, recovery. So, kind of in this medical procedure prep process, I will help you or help myself tell the body kind of what's there to expect, that this is a healing procedure. This is something for our highest good. This is something that is going to benefit us in the long run. This is something that is not a threat. We are welcoming this. We are choosing this. So there's like a few like tapping procedures and things to go through, kind of a whole protocol. So I did that the Sunday morning before. Then the day of the procedure, 225, I was doing a energetic clearing of my dentist's office. This is something I often do when I'm traveling or doing going to the dentist, something that's going to have like a lot of chaotic energy or negative energy. So I asked, Archangel Michael to remove any blocks or negative energy from the dentist's office, from any of the staff, from any of the tools, the procedures, the computers, like anything that would be involved. So then I get a call, like maybe 10 minutes later, that the dentist was not feeling well and had to go home and had to cancel the rest of her day. So I literally cleared the dentist out of the office. Great. That was for my greatest and highest good. Mic drop, right? So I rescheduled for the next day at 10 a.m. Different dentist. And then I'm like, oh, Mercury went into retrograde that day. So, of course, I got another call. Sorry, Matt. The doctor's running a little behind today. Can you do 1 p.m.? So I just kind of laughed. I'm like, yes, of course, no problem. Um, and I remembered what I read about poor Anne Boleyn, this is where my nerdiness is really going to come out because my obsession with kind of like Tudor history. So Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII, was in the Tower awaiting her execution, and she was granted a swordsman executioner rather than the traditional axe executioner that they were using in England at the time. So this was kind of viewed as a mercy, as the sword style execution was like much sharper. It took more skill. It happened quickly and painlessly, whereas the axe could be a little barbaric. It could get stuck in the spine and the neck and all kinds of things. And if the axemen were drinking too much the night before, he might miss and hit the back, all kinds of. So, um, the disgusting fact, first of all, is that she was falsely accused of all these things just so her gross husband could get rid of her for another woman. Of course, men, right? Um, but anyway, because this was a French style of execution, the executioner had to come over from France, had to cross the English Channel. Well, the weather was bad. So he kept getting delayed on his way over to London. So Anne is then accredited for telling her jailer that she's disappointed in the delay because she was quite prepared to die. So RIP Anne and all women who have been treated this way at the whim of rich men, of course. So, not to compare a 21st century tooth extraction to some barbaric execution, but this is what came to mind. It was that I've prepared this. I did everything right. I did everything I knew how to do. I prepared it. I was ready on 225 that morning to just go through it, to just go through the process. So I had quite prepared myself, as Anne said. So I did my tapping, I did meditation, I did angel work, I did more. And so, anyway, I then remembered that Mercury retrograde calls us to pause. These things don't happen to us necessarily because of the planets, but sometimes the planets teach us lessons. They bring energies into our life, not to punish us, not to blame them, but to address things to grow in our life. So, retrogrades teach us to slow down, reflect, rethink, reconsider. So it's kind of like taking a breath before speaking, taking a breath before acting. Okay. So I got out the journal and I just said, what are these delays? And what is the loss in general of this tooth trying to teach me? So, as usual, it came pouring out of me while I was writing because for me, journaling is my easiest way to kind of channel divine wisdom. And I was being called to practice patience, of course, a lifelong lesson of mine, and not see bumps in the road as signs to stop everything, to just cancel the appointment, to just tell, if they called again, just telling them, just, you know what, forget it, forget it. Because it could get worse. This is all part of it. So I accepted each delay as for my greatest good. And instead of waiting for the tooth to get worse, I kept my appointment. And so this could be taken further. I kept bringing the scope out farther and farther. Where else in my life is this lesson meant to teach me to be patient? So, of course, the biggest thing going on in my life was that I was ending my career and starting a new business of life coaching and doing this kind of thing. Stuff that feels good, stuff that feels right. And I hit many snags and delays and disappointments kind of along the way. So this makes sense now. This is the bigger lesson. These things didn't mean that I needed to stop launching my business. I've known for a long time that this is definitely aligned with my purpose here on this planet. I needed to trust myself. I needed to trust my path and learn from each delay. Each time I was gaining more and more confidence in myself, I was also learning more and more information that I was going to need to make things easier for me down the road. So by doing that, I'm putting energy out into the universe that this is me now and more of this new me, please. I'm accepting it. I am surrendering my worries to the God intelligence to source, whatever you want to call it. I just do my part. I just keep saying yes to what feels aligned. So it's something that I believe that our souls signed up for to kind of learn to get it right. And it will keep circling back until we get it right. Not to punish us, but so that we learn. And I think that that helps not only our souls, but the collective of humanity. The more we learn and grow, the more we advance and get closer and closer to peace, to love. Okay. Obviously, looking at the world today, there's a lot of that work to be done, but we're only responsible for our part. Okay. So, to all my beautiful souls out there that are stressing about delays and snags and feeling like no matter what you do, it's just not working out. Or if you're just terrified of retrogrades as well, I want you to ask yourself some of the following questions. Just think about your answers to this. Am I doubting myself? And is that part of a negative pattern? Can these negative thoughts or doubts be true without a doubt? Can they absolutely be true? Or are there alternative explanations for what's going on? What lesson is this teaching me? And at the core, does the direction I'm heading still feel aligned? And when I say aligned, when you think about a goal or you see yourself in the future in a certain state, does that bring you peace and joy, excitement? Not excitement in a nervous way, but excitement in a joyful way, an ease to it. Like, oh, that feels so aligned. That feels so right. That feels like truth with a capital T. Are my actions and behaviors aligned with my goals? If these things are something you'd like to explore a little bit more with me, I am happy to do some coaching with you. Coaching is a great way to help explore your goals like this, and to find out like what's getting in the way and maybe to think about it a little differently. So whatever you choose to do, I wish you peace and so much love in your journey. But before I close, you must be wondering how tooth number 16 went. Um, so, as expected, as manifested, it went perfectly well. The tooth was pulled. There was no blood. They had to scrape it up a bit just to cause bleeding to get it to clot and heal. Um, I had no issues with it. The aftercare, it's pretty much closed up at this point. Um, so, you know, all that prep work I did and that trust that it has been done. It is certain, it is done, it is being handled. I did my part, I took the steps, and the timing and everything else will work its way out. So my body listened to everything I told it to do during that prep work, that little process. And I'm so grateful that everything went well. There were a lot of guides that came through in that process while I was doing my meditations and journaling. My dad, my DDS dad, doing his work. Of course, my dog Betty would come through, and a lot of times when I need some extra love. Um, Archangel Michael is great to call on when you want to clear negative energy or cut attachments to things that are causing fear and anxiety. Archangel Raphael for healing, any kind of medical procedure, any kind of health concerns. And St. Luke. St. Luke came up for the first time in my life. St. Luke came through, also another healer, healing energy archetype. And so, of course, my guardian angel. If I don't mention my guardian angel, I know he will prank me because that's the kind of little relationship we have. So, hope you enjoyed my little craziness in this one. This was a little off the wall, but I did want to highlight the power we have to change our own course and the power we have to ensure health and stability and continuing to reach our goals. So, Keep on shining, my loves.